Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a facial on Andrea. So we're both super excited. It's been, oh my gosh, I think 2 years since I've given anyone a facial, so I'm ready to get in and do this. Today we're going to be using the Repassage line for her active treatment. So what that means is I'm going to be doing a 4-layer facial on Andrea. So first we will analyze the skin, and then we will do a cleanse. After we cleanse, we're going to exfoliate, and then I will put on a vitamin C serum and a hydration cream and do a facial massage. After that, we mix up a seaweed layer of mask that gets rubbery, and we're going to put that all over her face and onto her neck. That sits for just a couple minutes, and then we layer it on with a mineral mask just on the face, and it's going to get hard like plaster. So I'll be able to knock on her forehead and you'll hear it knocking like a door. So while that sits, she's gonna get an arm and hand massage, which will provide some comfort for her since her eyes and mouth will be covered. So it's a little, I don't wanna say scary, but some clients can get kind of a claustrophobic feeling with it. That time also allows for it to set up so everything can penetrate deeper into the skin. So that mineral mask helps drive those ingredients in while the seaweed mask firms and soothes. Then we will loosen the mask off and it will just kind of pop off her face, almost like one of those, I don't know, one of those masks some people hang on their walls, and almost look like a piece of plaster, really. So after the mask comes off, we then rinse off any residue. I'll put an eye cream on her, I'll do a peptide serum, and we'll moisturize, and then she'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm wetting down 2 cotton rounds with warm water, and I'm gonna place those on Andrea's eyes. Normally, we would start off by removing any eye makeup, but I asked her to come with a clean face today. So she is nice and clean and we don't need to do that. I am gonna wrap up her hair and protect that so we don't drip any products in her hair. I've just made a little head wrap with a towel. Pull it back, tuck away any loose guys. And then we bring over everyone's best friend, the mag light. So this is gonna show me really what's going on with Andrea's skin. It's gonna magnify things. It's a nice bright light. So I'll be able to determine any skin concerns, any disorders, and definitely most important, her skin type. So you're gonna see a bright light. Alrighty, so I'm gonna start at the forehead, and she's got a couple small breakouts. There's a little bit of light freckling in here, which is usually related to some sun damage. She definitely needs an exfoliation. The pores on her nose are a little congested. And as I'm going over and looking, I'm not just taking a glance, I'm actually feeling her skin, noting the texture and her hydration level. So if you slightly lift up on the cheek or really any area on the skin, and if it forms fine lines that almost look like streamers, you know that person is dehydrated and they need to drink more water and use products that are more water-based to infuse in there to pump up those lines and get that hydration level back to where it needs to be. She's pretty good, especially given the hotness we're all living in right now that's pretty much sucking the moisture out of everything. Now, as far as her pores go throughout her face, she has some small pores on her chin, and there's a little bit on her inner cheek. So if I were to classify Andrea's skin type, she's pretty much normal. Maybe a little normal to oily on those areas, but everywhere else, when we look at this cheek area, she doesn't have any large pores. And your pore size and amount and the way it's distributed is what contributes to your skin type. So if you have a lot of large pores all over the forehead, in the nose, the cheeks, and the chin, you're gonna be oily. If you look at someone who just kind of has them in the T-zone, they're more on the normal combination side. If you look at someone and you only see a sprinkling on the nose and none anywhere else, then that's gonna be a dry skin person. So those people are lacking oil. They need more moisture in their skin with some good oil-based products. If you're oily, a misconception that a lot of people do is they're like, I'm not gonna moisturize because I'm so oily. but you still need a water-based moisturizer. You still need to get something to that skin to promote hydration versus something to something to promote moisture. So just wipe around the eyes here, and then we're gonna get started with the cleanser. All right, so I'm using the Reposage Cleansing Cream. It's in a little packet here. One thing I love about this facial is everything is portioned out for you. So it's super sanitary, nothing goes bad, and everything's, you know, super handy to use. I did wash my hands before I got started, and I'm just gonna cut the top off of this and get it all out in my hand. And I've got a trash can right here on the floor that I'm throwing everything in. Now, since this has been sitting on the counter and it's chilly in this room, we want to warm it up. There's nothing worse than getting 2 hands placed on you with freezing cold product. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. So I've got a bowl over here of really hot water to get my hands wet. Come over and make my presence known that I'm over here so I just don't startle Andrea, and I'm going to start spreading the cleanser. I spread on the décolleté, up the neck, chin and cheeks. I go across the chin, over the upper lip, up the nose, and across the forehead. And then I go down. And then I go into my cleansing routine. So I'm doing some upward circles on the décolleté. You always want to work up. Gravity does enough to pull everything down on us. So we want to work against that. And I'm still spreading, going across the neck, jaw, keeping those upward motions. And I'm going to go around the eyes 3 times and then stop at the temples. Now I need some more water. You'll continue to add water depending on your guest. If they are dehydrated, so lacking that water, they're going to probably suck up that cleanser. So you want to make sure you keep adding the water to it so you're not just pulling and rubbing on skin that's just dry and absorbing cleanser. So now I'm kind of making like a kneading motion across the décolleté. We always want to cleanse and treat this area of the skin just as we do the face, because we wear tank tops, we wear V-necks, we wear shirts that expose that area. So we don't want to have like a nice supple looking face and then a dull, dry looking skin. Cleansing the neck. And then I go into my cleansing routine. So I'm applying pressure to the jaw. I'm using my thumbs and forefingers to kind of work in that area. And then I'm going to make upward circles across the chin. And when I'm cleaning in through here, I can feel some microcomedone congestion kind of underneath her upper lip and on the chin. That's super common with people. So when we exfoliate, I'm going to make sure I get that area really well. And it's usually normal to repeat your facial movements 3, 6, or 9 times. Just, it's not like one little rub-a-dub and you're done. And then I go in and kind of knuckle the cheeks a little bit and then come in with open palms. So they say the average person spends like 15 seconds washing their face. So when someone gets a facial done, obviously we're increasing that time on the skin. I think this whole cleansing routine takes about 3 to 5 minutes to get a nice deep cleanse. And I come around the eyes, and then I'm going to cross my hands almost like a butterfly. I'm going to stabilize one nostril and scrub away at the other one. I'm not going to pinch them both shut because then she can't breathe. We don't want that. Get in under the nose and that little crease area. You don't want to be too sloppy here because you don't want to give them a nose full of cleanser. And then I do the other side. And then I do some small circles up the nose. Take a moment and kind of pause there in the middle of the forehead. And then I do some forehead circles. I'm also cleansing in the eyebrow as well. And then I come down to the temples, do a slight press and lift off. I'm going to rinse my hands in the water. And I'm going to just kind of do one more once over on her just to keep things hydrated so it's a little easier for me to remove. And it warms her back up. Now this cleanser is a cream cleanser, so it doesn't get frothy and soapy. So if you're an oily skin person, you usually want a cleanser that foams. If you're on the drier side, you want to use a cream-based one. It It still gets you clean. It's not like you're putting a moisturizer on, but it's not as deep as a cleanser would be that foams. All right, and that's that. So I'm gonna get my warm towel. So I got warm towels. They're actually sitting in the crock pot. I forget we have a towel cabinet here. And I got them warm with warm water. And then I wring them out really good because you don't want to have hot towels with hot running water. Not only does it burn your hands, but it could burn your guest. I place it down on the décolleté, press the heat in, and I've formed it in a way that it looks like a kind of a cross band with two triangles. So it stays down on her neck while I can wrap her face up. So you guys probably call this like a barber wrap or something. And then I press in again. And what's nice about it is it almost makes like two little pockets for my hands. So I stick my hands in there and I make sure I still have her face covered. I don't just want to open it up and here's the cold air, and work my way through to wipe off the cleanser as I work my hands down into the towel, getting clean areas of the towel. And then I let it fall in the décolleté again, and then I just kind of roll and shimmy it up. And you kind of want to work quickly with this because your towel is going to cool off. I fold it in the corners of my towel. Those get the coolest the first. And I don't like the feeling of dragging cold towel corner on someone. So you want to just kind of pick those up and get them tucked in. Then I make a little mitt and I come in and refine anything I may have left, keeping continuous contact with the face. And she's nice and clean. My towel is going in a little bin on the floor. And it's gonna sit there until I clean up at the end. So now, drying off my hands, and I am going to kind of tissue blot Andrea's face dry, because we're gonna use an exfoliator that I'm obsessed with. It's a Sephora product, so it's not anything you can't get if you're curious about it. The brand is Saturday Skin, and it's not an exfoliator that has grit in it. It's one that works with ingredients. So it's going to kind of loosen the bonds that hold those dead skin cells on the face. And it's actually going to create like a roll off to happen to her skin. So the first time I used this, it was like snowing gunky, gross balls of skin off my face. So that I was sold from the moment that happened. So we're going to do that to Andrea. We're also going to do it on her décolleté to keep everything the same. All right, so I'm doing about, I don't know, a nickel size. And spread across the décolleté, do the neck, chin, and I might need to get a little bit more. And then with this, you've got to kind of be patient with it because it has to kind of start working. Does that feel okay? Okay, let me know if anything burns. All right, so right away, we're getting some resistance here, which is awesome, and I'm getting stuff. So I'm gonna see if I can show it to you guys, if you don't mind. So the skin will be a little pink after this because we are obviously increasing blood flow and we're getting rid of some dead skin. Do you feel it? Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I've been amazed with a product that I can just go anywhere and get, and this is definitely one that I think is fantastic. Not only does it get that dead skin off, but your skin feels nice and soft afterwards, like you actually, did something effective to it. So the exfoliation usually takes about 3 minutes. This whole treatment today will probably take about 40, 45 minutes. And I'm just kind of doing similar motions that I did during my cleansing routine so that I'm not all over the place with this. I'm just not doing them as, I'm not using most of the sweeping. I'm doing a little more aggressive sort of movements. And it's funny, on the areas that the skin is super smooth, you're not going to get a bunch of roll off. And then it's nice because you can get close to the eye with this. So I can embrace the under eye area on the cheek, and go back and forth with light pressure and like a stroking moment to get those particles off. That's what I like about non-abrasive cleansers. You can get close to the eye area. With stuff with granules in it, you want to be careful because those areas are obviously sensitive, and you could, you know, hurt yourself. All right, so I'm getting more resistance with the skin, but I'm going to keep rubbing because it's still snowing. And it almost looks like, I don't know, if you ever get like toilet paper wet and have little pieces of that, it kind of looks like that. Get the upper lip and the areas where I felt that congestion. And I think we're good. She definitely had more come off the décolleté than she did the face. I'm just gonna like pick a couple of these up. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but they're like little balls of skin and you can kind of see it on my hands. So that's those in the trash can. Let me get my hands wet. Go over where I just exfoliated. And then we'll rinse with a warm towel. If you're ever in a position where you're giving someone a facial and you're using an exfoliator that has granules in it, you want to avoid the eyebrows or you're going to have a difficult time getting it out, and you'll probably still feel it in there when you go to do your facial massage. And it's not very relaxing if you're getting a facial massage and you're still feeling like that one speck of something rubbing around on the face, because you're going to concentrate on that the whole time. All right, so what I do with the towels, I grab a corner and then I grab the opposite corner, pull it down like this, lay it on the décolleté, press the heat in, just like we removed the cleanser. Bring it on up, cover, press the heat in. And you kind of want to take your time with this part. It's not like you just want to and then take it off. You want to promote some relaxation as well. Get my hands in the pockets and then I start removing. Now some of this fell in the lash line, so we want to carefully brush that out. All right. So she is clean and she's ready for the next step. But before I move on to that, I'm going to reposition her head wrap because I've worked her a bit and I've got some hair sticking out. I prefer to do this now before any other step because she's going to start getting into that relaxed state if she's not there already. Because the next step is going to be facial massage. Now, not all facials are the same because there's 8 bazillion product lines out there. So, you know, if you do end up taking this license and doing something in the spa setting, you're going to offer multiple types of facials. Usually after this exfoliation part is the time when you would do some extractions. There might be a facial where you start off and you're using the steamer on them to cleanse and exfoliate. There might be a facial that you're incorporating a chemical peel in, but this one, we're just really trying to nourish the skin, firm it up, and just kind of keep things at a nice normal level because Andrea is super sensitive. So the seaweed is soothing, it's firming. The vitamin C helps to brighten the skin. So this is just kind of a really nice, I'm gonna say maintenance treatment. Nothing like that's gonna get in there and, you know, start boxing away at her skin problems. All right. So before I apply the vitamin C serum and the hydration cream, I'm gonna go ahead and prep my masks. I should have done this before because this foil stuff can be a little loud. So everything, like I said earlier, is just in a little packet. So we're gonna mix the seaweed gel. I'm sure this is backwards on your screen. We're gonna mix the seaweed gel and the activator, but I'm not gonna do it right now because it sets up. So I'm just gonna cut it open and put the powder in my bowl. I'm gonna do the same with the mineral layer as well. And when you work with a mask that gets rubbery or gets solid, you don't want to use a bowl that's just hard plastic. You want to use something that's bendable because it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to clean, and you're able to kind of squeeze it when you stir it so you're not slopping stuff everywhere. And these, and I think I found this set on Amazon for like $9 and I got 3 of them and they're great. Seaweed powder is going in the bowl. There's a light scent to it. It doesn't smell like Galveston water or anything gross like that. And I'm throwing it away. Clean as you go. And then I'm using the mineral powder in a larger bowl because this is a larger portion of mask and I don't want to have too small of a space and slap it everywhere. This will ruin your towels. It does not wash out that easily, so it's like you have to throw the towel away or spend a lot of time meticulously picking it out. So I definitely don't want to get it all over the place. And now the mineral powder is in the bowl. I'm not going to cut open the packets of the gel because I don't want them to spill anywhere. So we're just going to leave those as is. And I'm going to sanitize my hands again. Always keep a hand sanitizer nearby, even if COVID wasn't going on, just because you're touching things and then you're touching someone's face. Okay, so next step is the vitamin C serum. So I'm going to use this whole thing. So she's going to get 5 milliliters of vitamin C serum. This part kind of takes a while because you are wanting the skin to suck it up. So we're going to just do some rubbing, some pressing all over, and it's not like she's going to fully be absorbed with it. We do want some slip and glide because then on top of it, we're going to put our hydration cream. And I'll just kind of spread this on the skin and then we go into the massage routine with that. So it's super duper liquidy. I don't know if you can see it in my hand without me spilling it. I didn't empty the whole thing. I'm putting this in my hands away from her so I don't drip it. Now, clients might feel a slight tingle with this. Vitamin C sometimes does that. They shouldn't feel a burn. Nothing should really burn unless you're getting a deep chemical peel. Just kind of portioning it out. She's gonna kind of look like she's glistening because we're gonna have so much on. It's good stuff. All right, so we are empty. Success there. A few more to the face. I'm not putting this on the eyelids. There's really not much you put on the eyelids during a facial treatment unless it's an eye cream. Now the mask that I'll be putting on her will cover her eyes. But it won't be direct. We'll have cotton rounds over her and it'll go over the eye area that way. But other than that, you leave the lids alone. Okay, so the vitamin C serum is on. Dry my hands off. I've also made her bed in a way that I've got a long body towel right here. So if need be, I could use that to clean my hands with. It's just kind of a preference. If you like to do laundry, if you don't, or if you wanna, I don't know, sometimes people disturb the client with that. I guess I like to do laundry. Not really. All right. So this is the cream. And I'm getting it all out. And typically with massage cream, you use about a, I don't know, they say a walnut size. I think it's more like a hazelnut. So I got about that much cream. Now I'm not gonna put any on her forehead because when we do the massage, I'm gonna start at the décolleté and I'm working my way up. So I'm actually gonna be pushing all of that massage cream up. So if I put a good amount on her forehead, I'm already gonna like be adding more to that, and then it goes up into the hairline, and we don't really want them to leave looking, they're gonna look like a bit of a hot mess, but if you can keep the hair clean, it's usually preferred. Spreading on the décolleté, getting the neck, chin, upper lip, eyes, then I'm coming up to the temple, and then I'm going back in. So with the massage routine, I think I learned, I don't know, like 3 or 4 versions of these when I was learning to be a teacher. So with every product line you work with, everybody kind of has their own thing. So I kind of just blended them all together with moves that I like. So I'm using more of a firm pressure, coming across the décolleté and across the pectoralis muscle. You can feel some tension there. And then I like to sweep around the shoulders and come up the back of the neck and kind of do a pull. And I do that a couple times. Just feels really good. Your client usually gets the chills. And then I form my hands into fists. And I come in and I'm like sliding down trapezius back there. And usually you want to ask them, what kind of pressure do you prefer? And let them know if anything's too firm, just to let you know, ease up on it. Obviously, I'm not using the same pressure down here that I'm going to use on her face. In this area, there's really not a whole lot of, specific movements, I guess. More of like the kneading, knuckling a little bit, just kneading that's slow and fluid. Facial massage should usually take about 10 to 15 minutes. This is usually the client's favorite part. Now when it comes to the neck, so we've got a lot of important things in our neck. We don't want to really work anything too hard. So I just kind of do some gentle strokes. And you can start on one side and do more like an effleurage motion where you're lifting up the skin. Feels nice. And then once you get into the jaw area, that's where you can increase your pressure. And our jaw is actually the strongest bone, so you can put a lot of pressure on it. So what I like to do is I kind of form like a position like this with my hand. I get the jaw right there and I kind of pinch and pull back. And then massage with my knuckles where it is close to the ear area. And with some massages, they do the ears. I don't know, I'm not an ear person. I think it feels weird, but some people like it. I guess with Japanese theory, they say the ear looks like an upside down fetus. And when you massage the ear, you're actually doing more to relax the whole body. Some people, it gives them the willies. So I opt out on that one. All right, so the purpose of this massage cream is to really work it into the skin. So as we age, the area in our mouth area tends to form those fine lines kind of first. So I'm doing a figure 8 movement. So I'm coming around the chin and then I'm coming up the upper lip. So I'm feeding that vitamin C serum and that hydration cream into those fine line areas. Do that a few times. And with the massage, you're not bouncing around. So I'm not going from the chin to the forehead, back down to the décolleté. You're just kind of starting in one spot and working your way up. So now I'm making a V with my finger and I'm coming across the upper and lower lip. And I'm gonna do some circles. So I'm gonna start the circles on the jaw and I'm gonna do 3 tracks of these. So this is 1. And then I come up to the corner of the mouth, same movement, and we're working up. So notice my fingers are going up towards the eyes, not down towards the neck. And then we come kind of to the corners of the nose and do the same circle movement up to the temples. And then slide down and start it again. And I don't know if it's like a habit or what. Everybody kind of holds their hands differently, but my thumbs are always meeting together. I don't know, I think it helps me stay a little bit more balanced with things. And then to the corners of the nose, going across the apples of the cheeks, to the temple and back down. And this will be our third time. So after this is done, we'll go into another movement. All right, and then I just kind of come up and across. And then I'm going to do kind of some cheek stroking. So I'm cupping the jaw again. And then I'm turning my hand and I'm doing one side, which I think feels great. This was a difficult move for me to get the hang on. I felt like I was all contorted, all weird, but once you get it, you can almost do it in your sleep. I switch and go to the other side. Still keeping contact. I have not lifted my hands off of Andrea yet. Okay, and then I'm going to do some eye circles. So under the eye and over the brow, around the eye to the middle of the forehead, around the eye to the hairline. That's one. We repeat that again. Around the eye to the hairline. Got a hair. Still keeping contact. I'm pulling the hair away. Brows, middle of the forehead, hairline. Now I'm going to go in here and kind of do, there's a little pressure point in your eyebrow near the nose. You almost feel like this divot. Now I don't want to come in and squeeze or pinch that, but I'm going to come in with my fingers, kind of find it, and then just trace down the brow, stop at the temples. I place my thumbs on the forehead, pick up there with my middle fingers again, slide my thumbs down, and go down the brow again. That's 2. I do about 6 of these. 3. And then I go into figure 8. So I'm using my middle finger and I'm coming down the brow, under the eye, down the opposite brow, and around the eye. And then you alternate your hands. And you're going in the direction of the eyebrow hair growth. So if you find yourself going opposite way and pushing it up, you're doing it wrong. So this is getting that product into those eye lines and underneath the eye, an area that most of us neglect. And I do another set of circles. And then we're going to kind of wake that eye area up with some deportment. So just some light tapping with the fingers, fingertips, not the tips with your fingernails. Just little pads of your fingers just tapping around. And you can go into the cheeks a little bit. And then I slow it down, do another eye circle. And then I'm going to work on the forehead. So with the forehead, almost like the jaw, I do a sequence of upward circle motions. I start kind of above the brow, a little bit in it. Everybody's forehead is shaped differently. Go down to the temples, circle around, and then come back to the middle of the forehead. And you want to take your time with this. You don't just want to rush through it and get it done. The slower it is, the better it is for your client, and the better it is to get the product into the skin. And then my last set is at the hairline area. And then I'm going to do that one again. Now, if she would have recently had Botox done, we wouldn't be doing this at all, and we definitely would not be massaging the forehead area. You usually want to wait, really 2 weeks is good. Once it starts setting in, it takes its full effect before you get a facial treatment. Last round at the hairline, and I'm going to do one more of these. And then this next move, We call it the third eye. So I am going to stroke up the middle of the forehead with the nose with my hands. Then I take my middle finger and I do this circular motion up to the forehead. I think this feels great. I do this on my toddler sometimes when I'm trying to get him to calm down at night. And I do 3 of these. And then I like to do the little V's that I did on our décolleté on the forehead. And going down to the temples. This is nice too. It works in the product. It's relaxing. Helps promote the blood flow. So side to side is 1. And you can always, reposition yourself to get a better angle. I used to sit when I would give facials, and then one day I decided to stand, and I've been preferring to stand ever since. It's nice because you're not rolling a chair around on the ground. That can be distracting. And then really you've got more control over things. You're not slumped over, you get a better posture with it. Feet are tired at the end of the day, but you get better treatments. Alrighty, do this other side, and then we're gonna get back to the center. Okay, and then this next movement, I'm gonna lay my palms on your forehead, push down, and go to the temples. This is also awesome. Go slow. Almost like a praying position. And if you want to get all fancy, you can sweep around the eyes, lift up on that cheek area, put your hands together, and then come out slowly like this. This one feels really nice too. That was a dermalogica technique. I don't remember what she called it, but used it.
I like their microfoliant.
Yes, me too. And their barrier cream. Yes. And the vitamin power cream is good too. All right, so that's kind of it with the facial part. So I'm not done yet though. I need to kind of say goodbye to the body, kind of warm things back up. My hands are super warm. So I'm gonna go back down to the décolleté and shoulder area. And there's nothing wrong with, massaging the forearm spot. She is gonna get that arm and hand massage while the mask is sitting. So, you just don't wanna, you just do what you can. I remember when I first started doing these, I only did the face. I also worked with a weird line that only did the face, which made no sense. And then, getting more into this and more with touch, like as adults and humans, we're not touched as much as we were when we were little kids. So there's a lot more healing to it. And just the return I had with clients and loyalty and things, it was just way better. Doing this in that area again back here. On the back. And some people will end it here. I don't. I go back up the face again. I like to end things at the forehead. All right, so then I do this fancy little move where I kind of do that pray thing again, coming across the chin. I cup the cheeks again, come down on the forehead, and I do 3 of these before I do my temple frictions to lift off. And with these, you kind of just want to slow down since you are getting done. And make them slower than they were when you first started. And with the temples, there's no magical number I use here. You just go, and then I start getting lighter and lighter and lighter. All right, so I'm gonna wipe that off my hands. And now we have to prep her for the mask. Now, like I said in the beginning, I don't like to readjust these, but with this mask we have to because I'm not gonna spend an hour trying to pick it out of her hair. So, get her nice and tight again, nice and wrapped up. Now we all have different crazy hairlines. So to protect those little baby hairs, I'm going to take tissues and fold them in half and just kind of tuck them into the towel. Also is going to protect her ear so nothing's dripping in the ear. I usually use 3. I like things to meet evenly. So I'll kind of tear one a little bit to do this midsection here in the forehead. If there's any little funny sideburn guys, I try to tuck them behind the tissue. Tear this guy in half, fold it, and then I'm going to put this right here in the center. Now you don't want to fold your tissues in a way that you're blocking most of the skin, obviously, because we're working on the skin. All right, so here's the fun part. So we are going to get her eye pads. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of moisturizer on them so they stick. If I was in a normal facial room that had a sink with running water, I would put some fresh warm water on them. I'm not about to dip them in the water that I removed your cleanser with because we would then just kind of defeat the purpose. So spread a little bit of this on here. Not like peanut butter, more like, I don't know, a light jelly. I'm gonna touch at the temple. It's gonna be a little cool. I'm gonna place this over her eye, kind of covering the eyebrow as well. Taking my spatula. There's no cross-contamination going on here. I'm using a clean spatula to dip into the moisturizer. This is a water-based moisturizer. So it's almost like a hydration gel. And over the other eye. Alrighty, so cover this back up. Okay, so now we're gonna mix up the seaweed layer. So it's a gel. This will be a little cool. It's okay. It's not gonna be like an ice cube. And I don't know, it basically looks like water. It's a little thicker. It's not a gel like hair gel. You guys can kind of see. Great. And we take our plastic spatula. You can also use a larger waxing stick. And you don't want to start off high speed mixing it, almost like if you're making a cake. You don't just put your mixer in there on high and shoot powder everywhere. I want to go kind of slow, and then you can speed up once things start getting incorporated. So it looks like this. It will smooth out. We don't want it to have any lumps in it. We're not making pancakes, we're making a mask. And that's when you kind of cup your cup, go back and forth. And you only have so much time to work with this before it starts to set up. So you don't want to stall. Okay, so that's nice and mixed. There it is, has a light smell to it. And I am going to start down at the jawline and start spreading. And we always want to spread up. And you want to keep this as consistent as possible. You don't want to have like an area of blankness because it's going to make that spot a little more difficult to remove. This one can go on the neck since it doesn't get hard like plaster. It's more of a rubberized mask. So we'll put a little bit on our neck. We don't put the plaster mask on the necks because they can get a little too constrictive and freak people out, and it's also just not good for blood flow. I am making sure that I'm getting a little bit on this tissue, just kind of enclosing everything in. That's going to help me when I go to take things off. This is one you can put over the mouth. I'm not a fan of that personally. I'm not going to do that to Andrea. But if someone was really, concerned with that area, could by all means cover the lips with it. Getting this tissue in here. All right, so we are good with the lower face. We're gonna work our way up with the cheeks. I'm gonna slightly connect the iPads. I don't want to waste this on those. So I just wanna make sure they are in place. When I do the plaster mask or the mineral mask, it will go over the iPads, but we don't need to put any of this on there because it wouldn't serve a purpose, and she needs more of it on her skin than a piece of cotton. So with the seaweed mask, you want to make sure you get it everywhere, because where you don't get it, the mineral mask will sit. And the mineral mask is just a hard concoction that just promotes the drive of the ingredients that are in this mask into the skin. So you don't want to be there picking off mineral mask from a spot where this should have been. Just like the other tissues, I do a little connection with these. A little trick I learned in the beginning with this. So you've got like a good spot for lift off. Remember the first time I did one of these, it was a disaster. It's horrible. The room was too dark. I had no clue what I was doing. Didn't have adequate training on it. I just kind of went for it, and wow, what a mess. Starting to thicken up a little bit, so I know time is not exactly on my side, but I'm gonna be all right. So we're almost done. It will go on her nose and her upper lip. I've got about a tablespoon left. I think the nose is the most difficult. And then I flip this guy over. I use the handle side so I can get a little more precise with things, especially in these areas. I kind of chunk it right there in the corners of the eye. And then we do the upper lip. And this end fits better across the lip than this one does. And voila, seaweed mask is on. Set this to the side. Wipe my hand off. Seaweed washes out of towels, so we're good there. And now I am going to put her arm and hand massage cream in the crock pot on top of those warm towels. So when I do her arm and hand massage, I'm not going in with cold product. There's no other way really I can warm this up. If I had a facial steamer going on, I would have turned that on when I started applying the mask to bring that water to a boil. And you can always kind of, heat blast your products under there with that steamer. So you would just stir and steam and get it warm that way. But we're gonna go old school and use the crock pot. All right, so same steps as we did with the seaweed. We cut the top off the little packet. It's the same kind of gel consistency. This is the mineral powder. And dump it in. take a larger spatula and we're gonna stir this guy. Same method as before. Makes a lot more. And it has like a slight warming sensation to it, very, very slight. There are some molded masks that have even a more warming sensation, and the purpose of that is to promote more of the action to dry products into the skin. So it warms up the face and things get penetrated better. All right. So with some of these, you can just dump it directly on the forehead and like smooth your way down like you're frosting a cake. This one is a little too runny for that. There you go. So I'm obviously not gonna do that, but I worked with one where you did that and it was pretty cool. This just doesn't set up that way. But I am gonna start at the forehead. And it's thinner than icing. It almost reminds me of, I don't know, like super melted butter.
Like sour cream?
Yeah, like sour cream. And like I said before, this will go over the eyes. So it's gonna get dark for her. So this is a great treatment if you have a client who never stops talking, because you have to tell them, now you need to hold your face really still because we don't want this to crack or move. So it's like you finally get that moment of solitude where you don't have to hear them talk about God knows what. All right, now come on down. And all this is going on the face. I'm not putting this on the neck. So remember, we don't want to put anything on the neck because it tightens. And this is also a treatment where you don't leave your facial room. There's always a rule of thumb. You never leave your client unattended, ever. But some people don't follow rules. And you know, if you're that person, you definitely want to be smarter than to leave when this is on someone's face. So you kind of freak out, especially if they fall asleep and then wake up and you're in that deep sleep for just a moment. You kind of forget where you are, you can't see anything, and it can be a little scary. All right, so we're starting to thicken. Now we're getting more like frosting. And you may not always use all of the product that you have with these portioned out products, because everybody's face is a different size. So don't feel like you did something wrong. Do a little bit across the lip. I'm using the side of this thing because it's humongous. But I want it to meet because we do lift this off the face, and I prefer for it not to crack because I want just a nice clean removal. So we'll see how this goes. Like I said, it's been 2 years since I've done one of these. Let's see if I still got it. All right, if there's any areas that you can kind of see the green seaweed through, just go ahead and patch over. And then pretend you're frosting a cake for a moment. It's all smoothed out. How you doing under there? Give me a thumbs up if you're good. Okay. You definitely want to like check in with your person when you're doing this. But you'll hear their breathing change and they kind of get into that relaxed state, and then you just kind of know. All right, a little more on the chin. Okay, It's on. So I'm gonna let this guy sit, and it's gonna get hard, like I said, like plaster, and then I'll be able to like squeeze my bowl and it'll all just crumble off and make for easy washing. The spatula, those parts will kind of break off if I bend it. And then the seaweed, usually if you kind of stick it on the side of your cup, you'll be able to lift everything out. I didn't do that, we're past that point, so this would then just kind of come off in little sheets. You can scrape it and peel it. I'll show you guys when it gets a little closer to that process. All right, so I'm gonna sanitize my hands. I'm also gonna sanitize my client's hands. I don't know what she did before she got into this bed. I don't wanna touch it if it was weird. So, over with hand sanitizer. You guys can't see me. And then I'm gonna go over and sanitize her other hand. It's not very fluid with that because you're using hand sanitizer. So I'm gonna move the computer a bit so you can see kind of what I'm doing. Make sure nothing's in your way that you're gonna trip over. Cords, things like that. And we have our hand and arm cream in the crock pot, which is definitely warmed up because it's lost its shape a little bit. Looks like this. So I'm gonna give it a stir with my finger. I'm just gonna get what I need and then set it back on the crock pot so it's not sitting out cooling. I think warm hand and arm cream feels awesome. Some people do it, some people don't. I think it's one of those things, it's just one more added touch of customer service and comfort that you can add to something that would keep your people coming back to you. So I've got a lot. Andrea's skin is dry. So there it is. And there's no like rhyme or reason of how to do this. So I usually just start at the hands and I come up with all of it on my hands. I spread it out. I lift up the arm, come under the elbow, and I'm just doing a lot of, I don't know, almost like a lot of pressure. Going around the shoulder, and you can, as far back as you can get back there, do it. It feels good. And with the arm and hand massage, the way I calculate that is however long my mask needs to set on is how long I'm gonna massage for. So if it's a 15-minute mask, I'm doing about 7 minutes on each arm. If it's a 10-minute, I'm doing about 5. Nobody ever complains that you rub my arms too long, so this isn't anything if you do it a little longer. Back home with my facial treatments, I would I'd start off with every one, and I would put an anti-aging hand cream on the hands, and then a plastic bag, and then these warm lavender mints. And then when it got to the massage part, I take those off and then do the arm and hand massage so that your hands were always awesome when they were done. And I kind of use a lot of pressure in the hand. I feel like sometimes it can be too weak and not feel like anything. It almost just feels like a tickle. We work a lot with our hands, so it's nice to get all that out. So I'm just kind of kneading the palm and coming up and spreading my thumbs around. And then I will lay her hand back down, but I'm still gonna kind of hold it. And then I'm working my palms into her hand, and then I'm gonna focus individually on each finger. And you're also moisturizing when you're doing this. So if they have dry cuticles, dry knuckles, just really work it in those areas. And even though I'm just focusing on the fingers, I'm not just using one hand, I'm still holding her hand. You don't want the client to think they need to hold their arm out for you while you're doing this. I used to have this one gal, she'd like stiff arm everything, and it was like, please stop, I can't do what I want to do with this. I don't think she could relax. All All right, so I'm just kind of focusing on each finger. You can't see very well, and then I'm getting in that little crevice and rubbing there. And then I'm doing that kind of kneading again in the palm, going around the hand. And you know, there's some lines out there that like have you take the arm and like stretch it up above the head and do all this crazy stuff. It feels amazing, but I don't know. I didn't like doing it, so I didn't adapt to that. Like as the client, you're laying there with just like a towel covering you, and when they get all goofy and silly with your arms and they're knocking you around, my fear was always like, what's gonna pop out? What are they gonna see? So I just, I want my person to be able to relax, so I don't do that. All right, and just like the face, how we kind of said goodbye, we say goodbye to the arm. So I do more of my kind of open palm pressure all the way down, come up, and then kind of use my fingers, come down lightly all the way, and then I go back up to the top. I get lighter and lighter, and then kind of taper off. Now, if it's really chilly in the room, and depending on the temperature of your client, this is where you could then pick up that arm, and you would tuck it in under the blanket, so they're nice and cozy. And then you go to the other one. Now I did shut off my crock pot. That guy gets hot. So if you're using one for towels, which you totally could, you don't need to blast it on high the whole time. You really don't need to have it on high because it gets hot. All right, got my cream. And I'm just coming over here and I'm gonna do what I did on the other arm. It's, I don't know, it can be a little distracting if you do one thing on one arm and you don't do it on the other. I know sometimes I'll get pedicures and she'll do one thing on one leg and foot. And I'm like, oh, that feels great. And then I get to the other one and it's like, wait a minute, you didn't do that weird thing that you did with my ankle. Like, why are you, skipping around? So you wanna remember what you did, not get too zoned out while this happens, which is possible. I feel like facials aren't only relaxing for the client, they're also super relaxing for the person giving them. And I can tell by Andrea's breathing that she is relaxed. She's taking steady, slow, deep breaths. So that's usually a cue that you're doing an okay job. Now, if this was a different treatment mask, like a creamy mask, and if this was a client who talked a lot, sometimes this is a good part to save time at the end where you guys could talk about products and what's good for their skin and how to protect their investment they just came in for today with their facial treatment. This Seaweed 4-layer facial was usually one I would do about 6 weeks post a really heavy peel treatment. There would be 2 facial treatments I would do. I would do a vitamin C treatment with a pretty granule exfoliator on them, and then it brightened and plumped the skin. And then I would come in 3 weeks later and do this one. So it's kind of cool. You can always, set things up on a treatment regimen for your guests, get them on a plan, not just have it be like, well, whichever one you want, whatever you want to do. It's always nice to have, at least 3 treatments planned out for people. So they know what's going on, they know it's something effective, and it helps you keep your book full because you've got them booked out 3 times. In a setting like I was in, this treatment is $135. I'm trying to think. I think my cheapest facial was $95. And then with peels, they ranged anywhere from $65 to $325. So if you start packaging all of that stuff together and building a treatment program out of it, you'll do okay based on how your percentages are. All right, getting down to the hand. Work the fingers again. Looking at her mask, it's turning a little darker. So I know we're getting closer. Her seaweed is totally set up. It no longer has a shine to it. It looks more like a matte seafoam green color. Some facial treatments, they will then massage the feet. Not this girl, no way. But you know, if that doesn't gross you out, that's another thing to do. All right, focusing on the palm. Lay your arm down, come up, find the shoulder again. Warm her back up. Sometimes you have to hold their arm on the table to get super relaxed. They'll kind of flop off, and you don't want that happening. And then I'm going to come up and get ready to say goodbye. Okay, and that's that. Sanitizing my hands. I'm using a clean towel to wipe my hand sanitizer off with, and I'm going to do it again because we are at pretty much the end of our treatment. So what I'm going to do, we'll be taking off her mask. We'll wipe off any residue with a warm towel, and then we will put on her finishing products. So I'm going to do an eye serum, and then a peptide serum all over the face, and then her moisturizer. Sunscreen is always something to incorporate at the end as well. I did not bring any with me today, but every guest, every time, would leave with sunscreen on their skin. All right, rather than tap on Andrea's face and see that this is done, I'm gonna come over to my bowl of plaster and see what it's looking like. So I'll show you guys. It's kind of able to pick off. I can crumble it, and I just crumbled it all in. So obviously this was a thinner application, but if it's getting close, then she's probably close. Peeled right off of my spatula, which is handy. And like I said, you just kind of bust it off, and then it's easy to rinse with water. So back over here, and I'm going to take the tissues out. You just kind of rip off. All right, tissues are off. I'm going to bring the screen closer so you can see. Okay, so now I'm going to use my fingers and get up underneath the seaweed and loosen that up. And then you kind of just rock this back and forth, and it's going to make like a sound. Go. And we lift it off the face. And there you have it. Everything comes off at once. Woo, pretty cool. She could take this home if she wanted to. I usually just throw it in the trash can. If it's a person who's never had this treatment before, I would set it aside so they could look at it, because I mean, that is pretty impressive. God, Andrea doesn't look like that in real life, you know? It's like Mrs. Doubtfire dips her face in the cake. It's in the fridge. So I'm gonna set this aside. All right, now we take our warm towel. She doesn't have a lot of residue, but there is a little bit that we need to wipe off from the mask. We would wipe off anyway. This towel is piping hot. So I'm just gonna set it right here next to her because I see some chunks that I don't want to wipe around. It doesn't feel that great when you wipe the moldage mask around on them, that mineral mask, just because it's kind of rocky. And clearly you don't want to spend like 30 minutes picking at their face. So if you've just got big chunks, almost like paraffin, just get it off. All right. So whenever I remove a mask or after I've done a massage of any sort, I'd use 2 towels. I lay one on the décolleté, so that can sit there and be nice and warm. And then I do the face towel. And you wanna shake the steam out. Like I said, I bet these are like 300 degrees. It's gonna burn my hands. You don't just wanna take this out and throw it on them directly. All right. I'm gonna grab the corner on the opposite, wrap this up, press the heat in. Adjust this. Okay. And then just as before, my hands go into those little pockets I made. And wipe anything that wanted to hang out. And you always want to make sure you have a decent pressure when you're removing. The #1 complaint of facial treatments are that the client left feeling dirty, which you shouldn't because this is your face. And if you just spent over $100 on it and had, I don't know how many hot towels put on it, you should be leaving feeling clean. You want to make sure there's nothing up in their nose. You don't want mask left on the skin. They need to leave your treatment room looking better than they did when they walked in. All right, I'm gonna make that hand mitt again. I just fold my towel over, grab it again, wrap it around my hand. This guy's cooled off, so I'm gonna fold in those ends because they get coldest the first. And just do like a little shimmy. Fold him around. I've got heat right here. I'm gonna use it. Okay. Final step. I'm not toning. I could tone. I think there's a big misconception with toners and astringent. Toners basically just kind of add a little more, I don't know, nutrients and hydration to the skin so that you aren't using as much moisturizer and the skin is damp so it can achieve a deeper kind of product penetration. Some lines use them, some lines don't. I don't know, I'm kind of partial with them. If this was like a super duper duper dry person, I would use a toner, but she's, you know, she's normal. So I know she's gonna get enough with the eye cream, with the peptide serum, and with the gel hydration cream. So I've got her eye cream on my ring fingers. I'm not just gonna come up and spook her and touch the eyes. I'm gonna put my hands on her head and then do some tapotement around the eye area. And I don't just put this, you know, in the corners or crow's feet. I bring it around. And then I do rub it in a little bit. I just don't tap it. And rather than work out towards the temples, you want to bring the eye stuff in towards the nose. So you're kind of bringing that skin back versus pulling it out. And then I do a little more tapping. Okay, got the peptide. This is a brightening peptide. So it's a probiotic power serum. I use 2 pumps. And with serums, you usually just press it in the skin. This one says to kind of rub it between your hands to get it warm. They're super warm. And I'm gonna press it in. And then we wanna not forget the décolleté. Press it in there as well. And then we'll do the moisturizer. And since my moisturizer is in a pot, I am using something to get it out with. I don't know, I feel like the most common thing I would use in my treatment room was either a waxing stick or these plastic spatulas. You start to accrue a lot of those if you do a lot of these seaweed treatments because they all come with one. Press the moisturizer on. And then I do a nice spreading movement with it. I'm not gonna work her face as much as I did with the massage or the cleanse. It's just a moisturizer. I do wanna make sure it's absorbed because you don't want your guests leaving feeling greasy. And if you wanted to, a tinted moisturizer is nice to use at the end of a facial. That way they, don't feel so naked when they leave. In some instances, you might have a makeup bar in your room. You could touch up their makeup. I don't know. I'm all for leaving barefaced and clean because you just had a whole lot done to your face, and why put on anything that could possibly compromise it? Okay, so she's all done. I'm going to loosen her little head wrap here. Dry out any moisture, which we did pretty good. Alrighty, and that's that. So I'd love to do more of these for you guys. If you have anything that you want to see or that you're curious about or want to see something a little more aggressive, I've got the stuff. So how do you feel?
Amazing.
Wonderful. Your skin feels amazing. It looks amazing. All right. If you guys have questions or anything, let your learning leaders know, and I can always do a Q&A to answer questions as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.